All right. Good afternoon to all of you. As you know, the Commission on the Status of Women is holding its 70th session here at UN headquarters in New York, focusing on rights, justice, and action for all women and girls. Earlier today, the Secretary General delivered remarks at the opening of the session. He stressed that gender equality is and always has been a question of power. No step forward for women's rights has ever been given. Every step has been won. Mr. Guterres highlighted progress within the UN, noting that women now make up half of all UN workforce across professional and higher categories, with a parity in senior leadership reached 2 years ahead of schedule. We did it not by lowering standards, but by widening the search for talent, he said. He also warned that globally the picture remains deeply concerning. As conflicts rage in the Middle East and elsewhere, women and children are bearing the brunt of the violence and the displacement. He added that the number of women and girls living within 50 kilometers of deadly conflict is at its highest level in decades, while conflict-related sexual violence has surged by 87% in just 2 years. And just to flag that there will be several side events this week, including one today at 4:45 in Conference Room 2, where the Office of the Special Representative on Sexual Violence in Conflict will launch a global network on conflict-related sexual violence prosecutions. Turning to the situation in the Middle East, and I can tell you that we continue to raise the alarm over the humanitarian impact of escalating violence across parts of the Middle East, which is driving rising civilian casualties, damage to civilian infrastructure, and growing displacement of people. We're particularly concerned by the number of reports of recent strikes on oil facilities, which could have serious environmental consequences across the region, with immediate possible impacts on safe water, on air that people need to breathe, and on food. This comes on top of strikes on water desalination plants reported in several countries. I can tell you that our colleagues at the World Health Organization are particularly following the health impacts of all of these. The Middle East was already facing immense humanitarian needs prior to this latest escalation. We reiterate again that all possible precautions must be taken to protect civilians from the impact of hostilities and to avoid damage to health facilities, schools, water systems, and other essential infrastructure. Moving particularly to the situation in Lebanon, where humanitarian colleagues tell us that civilians and civilian infrastructure continue to be impacted by hostilities, the humanitarian situation is very rapidly worsening. Evacuation orders remain in effect for southern Lebanon and Beirut's southern suburbs. This is forcing civilians to move on a large scale yet again. Health services continue to be impacted, with 5 hospitals and dozens of primary health care centers having ceased operations. We and our partners are responding despite limited resources, but we need international support urgently to meet rapidly growing needs. Hot meals, bedding, and hygiene items were provided, as well as water and more than 80,000 liters of fuel to tens of thousands of displaced people. Psychosocial support and alternative education opportunities are also being provided to children. Immediate de-escalation is urgently needed. Our special coordinator for Lebanon, Janine Hennis-Plasschaert, began today an official visit to Israel. She's scheduled to meet with senior Israeli officials for discussions amidst escalating hostilities. The urgent need for recommitment to the full implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701 will be central to all her engagements. While this is a pre-planned visit, its timeliness is, of course, extremely important. We continue to call on all parties to respect international humanitarian law, as well as to protect civilians, health facilities, and humanitarian personnel. They must also ensure the safe and sustained access for humanitarian assistance to all those who need it. Moving to the peacekeeping side, you saw that late Friday we issued a statement in which the Secretary General condemned the incident in which 3 UNIFIL peacekeepers from Ghana were injured in their positions amid heavy fighting earlier that day. Our colleagues in UNIFIL tell us that the severely injured peacekeeper, who is Lance Corporal Albert Abrefa Busia, is being treated at a hospital in Beirut and is reported to be in stable condition. His two other colleagues who sustained lighter injuries were attended to on scene. We wish a speedy recovery to all of them. A UN investigation into what happened is ongoing. We underscore that the safety and security of UN personnel and property must be respected at all times, and that those responsible must be held accountable. The inviolability of UN premises must always be respected. Also, over the weekend, UNIFIL peacekeepers have continued to observe exchange of fires, including rockets fired towards Israel and Israeli airstrikes and shelling in their area of operations. Peacekeepers have also observed incursions into Lebanon by the Israel Defense Forces, including today reporting one IDF tank near Kunin in southeast Lebanon, which is 7 kilometers north of the Blue Line. Yesterday morning, UNIFIL peacekeepers in the Nukor headquarters heard 2 loud explosions. They later found debris inside the base. No one was hurt, and activities continued as normal. UNIFIL continues to maintain constant contact with the parties and strongly urges an end to the hostilities and to avoid putting peacekeepers and civilians at more risk. Turning to Sudan, where we are very alarmed by the series of drone strikes that we've seen in recent days across several states in Sudan. In West Kordofan State, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that strikes in the localities of Abu Zabad and Wad Banda on Saturday reportedly hit a market, possibly killing more than 20 people and injuring many others. In neighboring North Kordofan, more than 20 people were reportedly killed in the village of Karedim on Friday. The International Organization for Migration said that in the village, more than 200 people had to flee their homes. Our humanitarian colleagues tell us that yesterday, in East Darfur State, a strike on a fuel market in the city of Ad-Duyan reportedly killed 7 civilians, including a pregnant woman and a child. We reiterate yet again that the parties must adhere to international law. Civilians and civilian infrastructure, including markets, homes, and schools, must never be targeted. Rapid, safe, and unhindered humanitarian aid must be allowed at all times. Turning to the situation in the occupied Palestinian territory, where closures of crossings along Gaza's perimeter continue to undermine operations. Our OCHA colleagues tell us that the continued closure of the Zikim crossing is forcing aid workers to reroute critical supplies intended for northern Gaza through the southern crossing of Karim Shalom, Karim Abu Salam, which is still the only operational crossing port. This route is obviously slower. It is obviously more costly as it increases our reliance on scarce fuel supplies inside Gaza. And also yesterday, some humanitarian staff were allowed to rotate in and out of Gaza for the first time since the escalation of violence began on February 28th. That was done through Karim Shalom crossing. Medical evacuations and the return of Palestinians from abroad remain suspended as Rafah remains closed. Meanwhile, we and our partners continue to seize every opportunity to support people in need and scale up our operations where possible. Turning to the West Bank, in a statement issued over the weekend, our Deputy Special Coordinator for the Occupied Palestinian Territory, Ramiz Alakharov, condemned the killing and injury of Palestinians in attacks by Israeli settlers. He warned that such violence is becoming increasingly extreme, underscoring the grave risks faced by Palestinians in the area. Dr. Alakharov called on Israeli authorities to prevent such attacks, stressing that Israel must ensure that civilians are protected and that those responsible are held to account. Over the weekend, we documented the killings of 4 Palestinians in 2 separate settler attacks. 3 of the fatalities were hit by live ammunition, whereas a 4th person died after inhaling tear gas used by Israeli forces who intervene in an attack perpetrated by settlers. Last week, we recorded 2 Palestinian fatalities in another settler attack. Meanwhile, the closure of checkpoints across the West Bank continues to undermine Palestinians' access to services and workplace, as well as the movement of emergency and humanitarian teams. This is something that Dr. Tedros at WHO is underscoring, saying that ambulances there are taking longer to reach patients as they must use longer roads and search for accessible gates. Turning to South Sudan, the humanitarian country team there tell us they're deeply concerned by an order to civilians and UN peacekeeping mission, UN agencies and NGOs to vacate Akobo County in Jonglei State ahead of expected military operations. The order came from the South Sudan People's Defense Forces on March 6th, and as of today, I want to tell you that our peacekeepers are maintaining their presence in Akobo and continuing to carry out their mandated tasks. Since conflict escalated in December, Akobo has become a place of refuge for people fleeing violence across Jonglei. Akobo is currently hosting an estimated 270,000 people, many of whom rely on humanitarian assistance for their survival. More than half of them are women and children. Last month, our humanitarian partners had scaled up life-saving assistance for both displaced people and their host communities. And our colleagues in South Sudan also warned that any military action in and around such a densely populated area like Akobo would put civilians at grave risk and could trigger a catastrophic humanitarian crisis in an area which is already facing a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. Our partners tell us that people are crossing from Akobo into Ethiopia's Gambella's region, where there are also reports of looting in Akobo town, including in the main hospital. Our humanitarian colleagues tell us that some of the patients were relocated to Juba and the medical staff has left the hospital. OCHA and the humanitarian community calls on all parties to adhere to their obligations under international law. And in between South Sudan and Sudan, our colleagues at the UN mission in Abyei tell us that over the weekend they've completed the withdrawal of all their peacekeepers and national monitors from the Tishwin, Abukusa, Wunkor team sites that are part of the Joint Border Verification Mechanism. This withdrawal follows an assessment of the increasingly volatile and unpredictable security situation in the two areas had significantly hindered the safe and effective delivery of the mandate of the Joint Border Verification Mechanism. You'll recall that last year, our logistics base in Kadugli in Sudan was evacuated following an attack on the Bangladeshi peacekeepers. As a result, the verification mechanism has temporarily relocated its headquarters to Abyei and continues to monitor the evolving situation in its area of operations. Our colleagues at UNISFA remain committed to promoting peace and stability along the Sudan-South Sudan border and to implement arrangements agreed to by the two countries. Just a programming note, this afternoon, the Security Council will hold a briefing on Afghanistan. Our Deputy Special Representative and UNAMA's officer in charge, Georgette Gagnon, will brief. Two more countries paid on Monday. This lovely country is the world's largest producer of cocoa, producing about 40% of the world's cocoa. No, ma'am. Come on, Côte d'Ivoire. Yeah, okay, yeah. This other country is home to a very unique UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is called the Plain of 1,000 Jars. The Plain of Jars, it's called. And the plane, like a plane, it is home to about 3,000 jars that are from 1 meter to 3 meters high. Nope. Nope. It is on the plateau where you can find these jars is called the Xian Guang Plateau. Laos. Okay, I mean, I can see this is Monday. We thank our friends in Yamoussoukro in Vietnam. We now have 75 fully paid up member states. At least you didn't play, so you didn't lose.
I knew better. I wanted to ask about, there's more evidence out today that the U.S. was likely culpable in the strike against the girls' school in Iran 2 weeks ago. Wondering if the UN is doing its own investigation or looking into this matter at all, and then separately on UN presence in Iran, what is that still looking like given the hostilities of the last few days? And is there any independent facts finding happening on the ground there?
Okay. We have seen the reporting on that on the attack on the girls' school and the horrendous deaths of the students. We've seen the statements by a number of U.S. officials that an investigation is ongoing. We look forward to the sharing of those investigations. We have neither the mandate nor the capacity, especially in an active combat zone. Active conflict zone, to conduct an investigation. As for staffing, our staffing has not really changed that much in Iran. We continue to be present. Yvonne, then Linda.
Thank you. On the strike on the UNIFIL base last Friday, you said that there is an ongoing investigation. You don't have any further. I suppose I just find it quite hard to believe that you don't know the source of that strike at this stage, 3 days later.
No, I think it takes a bit of time to look through all the forensic evidence and to analyze the information. As soon as we have something and I can share with you, I will.
Any idea when that might be?
I think hopefully sooner rather than later.
Okay, and then in staying in Lebanon, there are reports from Human Rights Watch that white phosphorus has been used by the Israeli forces. Have you seen those reports, and have you any comment?
Yeah, we've seen those reports, which are very concerning, to say the least. We've asked our colleagues at UNIFIL if they have any information, and as soon as something bubbles up, I will share that with you as well. Linda.
Thank you, Steph. This is regarding the French president is saying that he's organizing with Europe and other allies a defense force to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. It's just crossing. I was wondering, given the SG's important role he played in creating the Black Sea grain initiative between Russia and Ukraine, I was just wondering if anyone has contacted him, or is he trying to pursue something?
I don't have anything. It's not a very good day so far. I have nothing to report for you on that today. I will share something with you if I do. It is extremely important that free navigation be respected in the state of Hormuz, not only because of international law as it is, but also the vital the vital part that the Strait of Hormuz plays in the global economy, not only for oil, but also for fertilizer. And I know our colleagues at UNCTAD, I think, will be releasing a report, I think, tomorrow on the economic impact that we've already seen on the closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
So do you think the SG would be in favor of this?
I will stop at this point right now. Thank you. Abdelhamid, then Pam.
Thank you, Steph. For the last 2 Fridays, Al-Aqsa Mosque was closed and prayers were not allowed to reach Al-Aqsa Mosque. Do you have anything to say about that?
Look, we believe that the faithful should be allowed to pray freely, especially during high holidays. And as we've always said, that we support the maintaining of the status quo as it comes to the holy sites in Jerusalem.
My second question, the former Foreign Minister of France, de Villepin, suggested that the UN should create an independent panel to decide, in case there is a conflict, who is the aggressor and who is the victim. And they should ask the aggressor to pay reparation for the one who was aggressed upon. What do you think of that? What the SG thinks of this idea?
I haven't seen those comments by Mr. de Villepin. Yes, Namo.
Thank you, Stéphane. One question. Yesterday, I think it was her turn.
Oh, sorry, Pam. And then, sorry, I didn't. Yes, Pam. No, because I see the I see the second shot getting ready to so Rudal gets the shot of Namo asking the question.
Go ahead.
So I get go ahead.
Okay,
Namo, go ahead.
Yesterday, a drone attack resulted in the death of 2 people at the Erbil airport. And the KRG, the Kurdistan Regional Government, is accusing not Iran, but forces like pro-Iran militia groups that the KRG says are supported by Baghdad or funded by the government of Iraq to be behind this attack. What is the Secretary General's comment?
No civilian infrastructure such as airports should be hit, right? I think any spread of this conflict beyond the area which is already spread is extremely concerning, and it is vital that the stability of Iraqi Kurdistan be preserved. Pamela Falk.
Thank you. There's also a pun now here, so there's a Pam and a pun.
Yeah.
So.
No pun intended. Yes, sorry,
No
go
pun
ahead.
intended.
Yeah.
Following up on the Strait of Hormuz stuff, the Secretary General has talked about the difficulty when commerce is slowed down. Is there any, now G7 has not agreed to increase oil production. Can you, you said this report's coming out tomorrow, so I assume that we'll have a lot of this, but what is the impact? Is there any impact on UN operations, on increased oil prices?
Yeah, I mean, listen,
right?
increase in oil prices will impact everything, right? Including UN operations, including the cost of transporting, of running our logistics operation, the cost of humanitarian food supplies being transported. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz will impact the world's access to fertilizer, right? Which will increase the cost of fertilizer, which will increase the cost of food production. I mean, it will be across the board. Pan.
Thank you, Steph. Yesterday, Iran named its new supreme leader yesterday, Mujtaba Khamenei. So does the SG has any comments on that?
No.
Oil prices has rocketed to over $100 per barrel. Is the SG concerned about that?
Of course, he's concerned about. I mean, the impact that it will have as I just laid out to Pam, and also it underscores yet again our addiction to fossil fuel, where supplies, is concentrated in just a few regions of the world. And it should also be an opportunity to redouble our efforts on renewables. Yvonne Murray.
Second round, thank you. What are the Secretary General's travel plans with regard to the region?
I expect to have some travel plans to announce in the next few days, some which was pre-scheduled.
Right. And then separately, as you know, every month the President of the Security Council will come and brief us as members of the press. That hasn't happened so far this month. What is the situation? What is the United States President of the Council going to come and speak to us?
That's a question to ask the presidency of the council. We are ready to host them whenever they want, but what is clear to me, at least, is that the work of the council is continuing. Farnoosh.
Sorry, and you may have spoken to this and I've missed it, but on UNESCO, obviously a number of UNESCO sites have been damaged or targeted in the last 2 weeks. Wondering, and I've seen UNESCO's statement, wondering that SG has anything to add.
No,
on
I mean,
that.
UNESCO is in the lead on that, and I think, listen, what is happening is clear to all, that increasingly in modern conflicts, it's civilians that pay the price, it's civilian infrastructure that pays the price, and we see the destruction of priceless historical heritage. I mean, you just have to look at what happened in Syria, right? The destruction of the heritage there during the conflict there, and we're seeing it again in this region. Professore Vacara.
Thank you very much, Stéphane. As a follow-up on the fact that we didn't have a Security Council, from the President of the Security Council press conference. I've been here a long time. I think it never happened in the last maybe 10 years. So does the Secretary General, what the Secretary General think about this? Is that being disrespectful toward the press, also toward the UN, if this doesn't happen? What would be the meaning of that? Because for sure has a meaning not to do a press conference.
I've been in search of meanings of a lot of things that go on in this place. On that note, bon appétit.